everyone. This is Menalesh Meti and I'm Metasebia Ketsela. This is going to be an English Menalesh Meti program. I have a guest for you today, Eyerusalem Kibret. She is the Youth Committee member of American Ethiopian Public Affairs Committee member. Last time I had Eyerusalem here talking about the AEPAC's endorsement for 2024 election. Now we have all the results. The Republican Party is in power. We're going to discuss about the results of the election and what Ethiopia is going to benefit from all these results. Stay with us. Thank you so very much, Eyerusalem, again to come to Menalesh Meti. Last time I had you and Nabi on this show. When we discussed last time, it was about the endorsement of about 44 people, I think, 30 of them House representative and about 14 Senate candidates. And there was about 44 people that AEPAC endorsement. And I heard most of them, in fact, nearly all of them managed to got some sort of seats or elected. Is that true?
Yes, that is true. A majority of the candidates that the AEPAC endorsed ended up winning. We had about 35 candidates that won out of the people that we've endorsed, which is a really great number. That means that we have good relationship at the state level as well as the federal level with representatives. So it's really good for us that we were able to engage with those people prior to them being officially elected. So it's really awesome and great.
Wonderful. So now I am assuming that you are in good relationship with the new government as well. You've been writing letters. And I also heard that you might need to start some sort of lobbying team, hiring lobbyists and all the rest of it. You need to do some fundraising, all the rest of it. But altogether, AEPAC, has been doing this thing for God knows how long. I mean, especially for the election, you've been working creating platforms, writing letters, discussing with the candidates, all the rest of it. Do you think all that relationship actually really is going to help Ethiopia now once they got in power?
Yes, that's what we hope, Meti, that we're, putting the roots for relationships, right? We're building relationship and connection at the state level as well as the, in the capital as well. So we're hoping that this relationship here in America, a lot of the time policies are changed or created based on relationships that you have with policymakers and how you're able to influence and educate those people, right? So AEPAC has been doing that for the last 3+ years now, building those relationships with each state. We have a state representative in most of the states here. And so we're hoping that we're able to leverage that to our benefits and to the benefits of Ethiopia and its population as this government takes office and as they start making and changing policies and whatnot.
Yes, I heard that during your endorsement. I heard that some of the candidates did actually give you their words saying that they're going to work with AEPAC 100% if they get elected. And are they keeping that?
Yes, that's what we're hoping for, right? It's politics is really tough, and it's it's a different game. So we've received a lot of promises from policymakers that we endorsed, we fundraised for, and we asked our community to fundraise as well. So we're hoping that that is going to come true as they take office and as the arena takes shapes, that we'll able to leverage that to our advantage. So we'll see. I think word is one thing, but action is another, right? So we're going to continue to advocate and we're going to continue to reach out and stay connected with them and see how that would be used to benefit the people of Ethiopia and to benefit the diasporas here in America.
Well, I'm assuming that even if they don't deliver, you're going to put pressure, you're going to talk to them, you have to make them accountable to their words. So yeah. But let's talk about the youth engagement in this election. I noticed that AEPAC has got a youth committee, but you're a committee member of the youth. department, and I don't know how many of you, but were there a good number of people participating in this action?
Yes, there's a lot of youth engagement, even getting people, registering to vote and educating our community about doing the research ahead of time before showing up to the poll, right? Like, who do we have good connection with? Who will be beneficial for Ethiopia, but also for the diasporas here, for certain policies that we as diaspora want, based on what we need within our community. So encouraging people to do that. I think the youth had a lot to do with that. And then also helping the elders register to vote, educating them about the importance of voting and being part of that so that we are able to influence policymakers in the US here. So there's been a lot of work that's gone to kind of elevate that and to engage the youth as well as the elders within the United States.
Well, in the old days, I noticed this political activism or anything to do with Ethiopia, the platform was quite narrow. It didn't really invite any youth groups or young people. Older people participate because they know about it and they feel responsible. But the young ones, especially who are brought up or born and brought up in the West, they weren't much of attraction for it, and they weren't encouraged to come to the politics part of it or anything like that, and except a few. Do you think AEPAC might have opened that platform for many youth groups or like yourself to come and do what they can for the country that your parents were born, or even the country where you live in?
Yes, it is. We've now have the youth group, AEPAC youth group, and we've been recruiting the youth for quite a bit now, for a little over a year now, reaching out to people individually that we see engaged in the social media, engaged in certain media, so the social media aspect, and we want to continue to do that. I think, like you said, the Ethiopian politics is dominated by older men, dominated by a few older women as well. But now we kind of want to change that dynamic and have a combination of. And the youth brings a lot of power and energy into the struggle. If you've seen the Palestine movement that's going on throughout the United States, it's dominated by the youth, and it comes up so strong because they're able to find allies who are Americans, allies who are Africans, allies who are, just different from different parts of the world. And they are able to make such a good impact, right? It's a really great impact, and being able to advocate for their people. So the youth involvement in the Ethiopian politics, whether it's for human rights activism or whether it's being able to run for office here in the United States, I think it's really important to engage them, and that's what we've been doing for the last year. And so I want to use this as a platform as well to invite them to check out aepac.org. The youth section is on there. Reach out to us directly, see if you're interested in getting involved more, whether you're wanting to run for office or whether you're wanting to be an advocate for Ethiopia or an advocate for the communities that are here in America as well. We have a really big diaspora representation here in the United States, and we could do more. I think we could do more even for people who reside here as well, in different aspects. So, but we can do that when we come together and when we are able to support one another. So anybody within the state in the youth group age, I would encourage them to reach out to us. We are trying to strengthen the youth group. We are trying to create an impact from a diaspora perspective, and also stay connected to our roots, to our ancestral land.
That's wonderful because, like you said, older men or women, they are working hard. Some of them have been here in this politics activism for the last 30 years or more. In the end, they get tired, they get fed up. As you can see, the country is not moving forward, but they are doing their best. But they needed a new generation to take over. They needed a new, younger generation to help them as well. So not only the platform is very narrow, but I noticed that the younger community doesn't really know what's going on in the country, in Ethiopia, and they don't seem to feel responsible. They seem to be that gap. Is there any way that you're going to start some sort of creating awareness and telling or educating the young people as well what's happening in the country, holding responsibility about the country, and coming together as a community to be able to help, Africa, Ethiopia, any other nation that they're connected to. Do you have any platform that you might be doing that in the future?
Yes, we are hoping to expand the APAC youth group and be able to advocate in different venues, and be able to have that togetherness for people to come and be able to advocate in different perspective, right? And then also lobby on behalf of Ethiopia. But also, I think we're lacking platforms like yours, and I can understand Amharic, and I can read as well, so it's easier for me to stay connected with the community, to stay connected with what's going on. But there's also not a lot of English medias in the diaspora that I could refer my friends to, right? So hey, what's going on this week, like what's new? And I really don't have, if they don't understand Amharic, I really don't have a platform to direct them to, right? And so for me, that's kind of been a challenge as well. And I'm glad to see that, you've been doing a lot of English services as well, or coverages as well. And I think we need more of that. And I don't know how that could come to fruition, but I think as a community, that's something that we're lacking too, right? A lot of the information they get most of the time would be from international medias, because the medias that we have within our community are majority of the time in Amharic. And some, if not majority, have hard time understanding Amharic. They, lean towards the English, or they understand that better. So I think that being a big aspect as well. But we also try to do a lot of reach out, a lot of meetings and gatherings to try to educate the youth about what's going on in Ethiopia and how they're able to help, especially from the humanitarian perspective about rule of law and whatnot. So yeah, I think there is a lot of opportunity for us in this aspect.
That's true. Well, I'm very happy to let you use this platform whenever you can. I mean, we should have at least once a day a news that's going to be in English, so that the rest of the community will understand what's happening, around the world and in Africa and in Ethiopia, if you're, you're connected to Ethiopia. So that's one thing. What you said about Palestine is absolutely true, especially university students. Anywhere you go, you see lots of young, young people that's coming out, being the voice for what's happening in the Palestine. It's always young people demanding some sort of change, being the voice. But when it comes to Ethiopia, there's similar things happening in Ethiopia. There's a drone attack on children and pregnant women and all civilians. Do you think we've actually spoken enough? And had we had young people, could have done much better, couldn't they?
Yes, definitely. I believe that there's a lot more work that needs to be done. Like I said, a lot of the conversation happens in Amharic within our community, and that we're not sharing that information outwards. There are a lot of organizations, a lot of people that put a lot of energy, but the majority is not doing that. And I think that's what's slowing the struggle, right? Because the information is not being shared as much as it should be. So I think the youth would have a really great contribution in that aspect, because they're so good with social media, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or even Twitter, the different platforms. So if you look at the Palestine struggle, you go on TikTok, there's no way you're not going to see 1, 2, 3 videos within the first 10, 5 minutes, 7 seconds. The same thing on Instagram. There's constantly information being shared there. So that's engaging the general population in America and in the world, really. The same thing on Twitter. It's constantly being shared there about what's going on.
Everybody from all over the world.
Yep, they've been able to create awareness amongst Americans, amongst Africans, and just the world. So the people that are resharing the information are not Palestinians, right? It's Americans. And so I think for our community, we lack sharing that information. We need to create a system or a way to be able to engage the youth, but then also communicate in a word that could be understood by others, right? So if we're sharing videos in Amharic all day, we're only going to get Ethiopians and maybe Eritreans or East Africans to listen to watch to it, right? If it's in English, then it's going to have a lot more audience that we're going to share it to, right? So even the videos that come out, advertisement that come out, we want to try and engage. I think engagement is a big aspect of advocacy, and we have to engage our allies in the world. And so the youth would have a really great impact in that. And I think the lack of connection amongst the youth is one of the challenge. So we need to link the youth together so that they are able to do this type of advocacy together. And so, which is why I'm, inviting people who are interested in this type of work to engage with us. And whoever is watching this, a parent, a grandparent, or a mom, to be able to share with their kids and invite them to our community to engage and learn, to see what's going on and see how you can advocate for our homeland.
Great. Do you have, I know you've got Twitter, or X we call it. Do you have any other social media platforms as AEPAC?
Yes, also on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube.
So you haven't got TikTok, which is most young people seem to be available.
Yeah, we don't have, I don't think we have, I don't want to be sure, but I don't think we have a TikTok account. But we'll see into maybe creating like the youth group, a TikTok account, so that way we are able to engage more with the youth.
Right. I don't know how many of you are in the youth group in AEPAC. I don't know. Do you have enough people in your group at the moment, or do you need more?
So right now we have our core committee, and then we have people that have signed up, are like a member of the AEPAC youth group. But we're constantly looking for more people, right? Because we don't have enough. We don't have enough people who are dedicated their time, right? This is volunteer work. This is something that it is time consuming. And I know the youth is engaged with a lot of, personal things, work, school, and college, whatever it may be. So we don't have a lot of people who have dedicated a lot of their time to be able to do the nitty gritty. And so we're constantly looking for people who are passionate enough to say, yes, I can, dedicate time and invest my time to be able to help and advocate. So definitely we need more people.
Yes, wonderful. But I want you also to use this platform to really explain why you're in this, why you're doing this. Like you just said, there are lots of other things that people do. Young people probably, they can choose to go some sort of entertainment or work or hang around with friends, everything. But you managed to choose this kind of service. Why? Because then they'll understand how valuable this kind of service is.
Yeah, it's advocacy, right? I see like AEPAC youth, I would want to transcend the current political arena, right? What Ethiopia is currently struggling. So I see that as being one that I want I want AEPAC youth to be able to influence changes, that whether, finding a youth that is willing to run for local or federal positions that will be able to support, so that way we can build a strong relationship and influence different policies. But then beyond that, for me personally, the human right violation that's happening in Ethiopia is very near and dear to me. That there's just things happening in Ethiopia that are unbelievably just crazy, out of this world, that should not be in the 21st century acceptable at any level that is happening to our people. And if those things happen here in America or anywhere in the developed country, that it would not be accepted, and that we would be holding people accountable for these things. But we seem to not. And I think what scares me more is that our community has become very numb to the things that we hear and the things that we see within our community that is being done to our people back home. And so for me, it's really big to advocate for the people who don't have the technology, who don't have the resources back home to be able to do that. We have people dying, we have children dying, elders dying, and just it's really very tough for our people back home. So for me, what keeps me engaged in this work is knowing that there is a lot of work that needs to be done to be able to be a voice for the people who don't have a voice or can't use their voice.
So if you think if we can actually organize ourselves and become like strong voice and do what we can, you think we can bring about some sort of change or bring about some sort of relief or peace for the poor nation back home?
Yes, definitely. I think we can hold people accountable. I think we can bring about true change that could have an influence on Ethiopia. So it is really important. As individuals, what is it? One lemon, the Amharic saying that goes, one lemon is, 100 lemon is too heavy for one person or something, but for many, it's easier to carry, right? Or about the spider web, like, one wouldn't do much, but a complex spider web could tie a lion. And so I think coming together to advocate for issues that impact the people back home, and Africa in general gets a small attention, very little attention, while we supply a majority of the raw material that the world uses. So as an Ethiopian and beyond that as an African, I think it's really important to advocate for injustice, to advocate for human rights, and then just to advocate for people to be able to live freely without being influenced, without being killed for speaking out, without being terrorized. And so it would have a really huge impact to be able to bring people together.
Well, I have a feeling some people may not really understand how bad the situation is in Ethiopia back home. How do you explain how things are back home for the people?
Yeah, so it's sharing the stories, right? So staying connected to what's going on. So I've heard a lot of stories about the drone attacks that's going on, about extrajudicial killing that's coming out even on BBC, on CNN, even international medias have been reporting on it, so much so that it's beyond the local news and the families and the relative information that we get from them. Even Human Rights Watch, Amnesty is reporting on how terribly things are going back home. Well, the government is continuously trying to cover it up by just putting a cover on it. It's clearly and evident that what's going on back home is really cringing. And so staying connecting, sharing more information about what's going on in a language that the youth, the second generation can understand as well.
Right. If you have this understanding of what's going on in the country, if there's a genocide, there's a drone attack, there's the displacement, all sort of a horrible thing happening in that for that nation. But why do you think you must have questioned as a young person? You must have questioned why people don't really come together and act or don't care as much. Have you ever questioned that, and have you got any answer for it? Because it's just beyond me.
Yep, I think it's just like, to me, like I said earlier, I felt like our community have felt numb, that we've been so terrorized. Like if you've met somebody who just been in trauma, usually they're very quiet and confused and don't say much. And I feel like our community is experiencing trauma. Like we're shocked in a way, because I remember like at the beginning when this whole thing was coming out, feeling that way of like, oh my God, like I would never think this would happen in Ethiopia. Like I would, and I think for a majority of time, that's what's going on, is that people are still in some sort of trauma, because of the experience that they've seen themselves or that their family have experienced. The other thing I also is that the government somehow was able to divide communities and using weaponizing different aspects and concepts that we have within our community. So that's kind of been hard, also trying to bring people back together and to try and unify the community to be able to advocate for a certain issue. So I think those are probably the two main issues, but I feel like more recently I've seen communities come together to be able to advocate. So we want to continue to strengthen that relationship amongst our community so that we can advocate for each other. And then also that we don't have time for trauma. We have to wake up and we have to carry on, and be able to be a voice for the people.
Right. So a young person, say he or she lives in somewhere in Europe or anywhere in the world, and they hear you talking here, they hear all the horrible news back home. What do you think they can do where they are, really, just to be the voice or to do whatever they can? What do you advise?
So I would advise them to reach out to us if they're involved, and if they're wanting to get involved in any sort of advocacy work. I would like them to reach out to us, whether through our website or just sending an email. Reach out to us, connect with us. We'll share information, and we'll see how we can help them connect with community leaders. We can help them stay in tune with what's going on and what things that we're working on.
That's wonderful. Just out of curiosity, and I like other people to also feel the feelings you have, and I have as well. Every time you come out and be the voice or do something for other people, there's something you get out of it. Do you get pleasure out of it? Do you feel like you fulfill your responsibility, or do you get that people think it's a waste of time? Why would you just do your life and just ignore these things? But they don't see the benefit of doing this service as a person. What do you get out of it personally?
Personally, I feel like I'm contributing something. Whether might not see the result today as of now, right? Might take time, but for me, did I do my part? That's what I ask myself. Did I do my part? So I'm not just, oh, I heard about it, that's sad, and moving on. But I am trying to do as much as I could. And knowing that gives me sort of a relief that I am doing what I can do. And at times, that's all we can do. You try, you do your best, and the rest is, up to the, the situation. So for me, it's really important for myself to answer, am I doing what I could to help be a voice, to help advocate for my community? And so, and I would encourage others to ask themselves the same thing. Are you doing what you can to be able to be a voice for your community? And so, yeah.
That's wonderful. Sometimes it makes you feel like you're alive and you're fulfilling some sort of great purpose in life. So as AEPAC, there's a youth group, and there's also 30K members or something. It's a huge groups, and you still need to grow, because we wanted it to be the most powerful organization that brings everyone together, so that we can have some sort of impact in the Western politics, so that Ethiopia benefits from it all. With other youth groups, the youth committee member, do you have any plans of coming together, having a Zoom meeting, opening up to the public, where other people can come and join it, other than coming and writing to your website, or some sort of meetings and gatherings and activities, so that you can attract more young people? Do you have these plans?
Yes. So we had previously we had a sort of like a panel discussion type of environment previously, and we're gonna have one upcoming. I'm gonna say in December, but I don't have a set date, that we're gonna do a similar thing. So if they are interested, if people who are watching this, if you're interested, reach out to us, so that when that goes out, will be live on the page as well. We'll do some marketing to promote it, but we'll also send it out directly to them if they reach out to us as well. So beyond that, we'll connect with them individually and try to engage with them.
Right. Because I don't see many people, especially young people, just like you. There are few, but not enough, not many. And we kind of question, how did she become like this, and who taught her, what kind of parents she has got. So when were you exposed to this kind of activities and services, and when did you really feel responsible that you've got to do something for these people?
Really, so I think 2021 or 2022 is when I became really actively engaged, and because I've seen a lot of war going on, and a lot of people just fighting on social media, burning flag and all that stuff. And so for me, like I was born in Ethiopia and I grew up here in America. So I have Ethiopia is a mother to me, you know what I mean, and so very close to me. So when I seen all the unrest going on in Ethiopia, people being displaced, war happening, I just realized that it was something that I needed to advocate for and be a voice for. And so since then, I've kind of been engaged to it. And like you said, we've not had any rest, right? And things continue to just get worse and worse, really. And so I've stayed in that struggle till now. And I see that now I'm too deep into it where I can't back out, right? Because now I understand more of what's going on in Ethiopia. And so but initially that's how I just seen the unrest. I seen a lot of displacement, killing of innocent people all over the country, in Oromia region, and so many just incidents that I've heard about, that I've seen. And I actually went to Ethiopia, I think in 2022 or 21, and got to visit some people that were internally displaced as well. So, and that just I guess encouraged me to continue to do this work and to do this advocacy work for my community.
Having been brought up in America, where you can, you can be respected as a child, can be respected as a citizen, and the parents don't even, get quite aggressive on their children in the West. They're very careful and polite. But you must have seen, when you see the displaced people, you must have seen lots of children lying down somewhere. They haven't got home, they haven't got anyone to care, that cares, and they don't go to school, they don't have a proper food. How did you feel? Does that break your heart? Because it did to me.
Yes, that did. And I was in tears. I couldn't even control my emotion the first time. I think it was in Ataye or Kimisi that I went to. And I visited this camp they had, and it was just so awful. I mean, we just had like one tiny classroom.
That must be
Come again?
Deborah Brad.
Oh, Deborah, yeah. So, and it was just like one classroom. I think they said four family members, like a dad with his whole entire family. So there was like four families in that room. No, nothing. There was just, and so I just looking at them, but then the joy that they had when they saw us, I broke in tear, and I had to actually hide behind the tents because I just could not control my emotions. So it was really tough for me. And like I actually, there was a moment where I was like, I should just give up, because there is not, no matter what I do, it's not going to be enough. I had that moment as well. And so, but it also keeps me encouraged to that have now multiplied. What I've seen then was a lot minimal than what currently is in Ethiopia. And so, but realizing that that I am trying and I'm doing my best to be able to be a voice for people who are going through it, physically and emotionally there. And then that kind of encourages me to as well, like, I'm comfortable here, I work, I can do whatever, I can afford to buy what I need, I can move, although this is not my country of origin, I wasn't born here, I can freely say whatever I want to. I work with Caucasian people, African American people, anybody, and no one ever dared to tell me anything about my race or where I come from. So knowing that, and knowing that I live here very a comfortable life, while I know my people back home in their homeland, in their birthplace, that they're not able to do certain things, that it just keeps me encouraged, and also helps me recognize that I'm very fortunate to be able to have this sort of opportunity to be able to advocate for my people as well and be a voice.
Great. I'm sure when we leave our country and we come to another developed country and we see all these things, immediately we wish the same for our country back home. We wish the same thing or even better, but then we don't get that close, and it just gets worse back home, and breaks your heart, and you just get really upset, and then you try to do whatever you can, and it doesn't really bring any change for especially a long-term solution. So there must be something to do with us as well, the way we do things or the way we bring about change or the rest of it. Have you ever thought about when did it go wrong and what could we've done or what could we do now to make it even better for next time at least than now?
Yeah, it's really tough for me. So I'm not politically matured, right? Especially when it comes to the Ethiopian politics. It's very complex and very delicate. So it's really hard to say what could have been done right to make or correct the path that we're in. But I just hope that we don't repeat history. And I think we've been doing that. We've just been repeating past histories and not even learning from it. And that I hope as a community and the political elite will start to recognize enough is enough, that this is costing us way too much innocent lives who have no idea about the politics. I mean, for God's sake, I've seen people that are under attack, under drone strike, who don't even know who the prime minister of Ethiopia is. Um, and innocent moms and children's dying because we don't seem to learn. And this is the fault of the political elite, the fault of the people who supposedly are the most educated within the country. And so I think I hope that the majority, which is the people that are farmers, which are the people that are not as educated as the political elite, will start to turn against the political elite that is causing all this chaos, because they're weaponizing ethnicity, they're weaponizing religion for their benefits to be able to continue to loot the country at the cost of the poor people. So I would hope that at some point the majority of the people would rise against these select elites to say enough is enough. We know what we want. But it's hard to say what could have been changed or been altered.
Well, earlier on you mentioned that you come to America and nobody dared to say, who you are and where you came from. You're respected as a human being and as a citizen of America, wherever you come from. But then when you look at the things back home, it's very, like you said, ethnicity, and it's based on tribal. The government is also imposing that tribal division to be able to get what they want, or power. And as a nation as well, and we be becoming more and more of instead of becoming, oh, we're all human, we're all equal, we're all Ethiopian, we just now be really divided. And you mentioned that earlier. Shouldn't we work on that as well, so that division always brings conflict? So as a nation, as Ethiopians, if we were sharing everything together, and if we didn't say, I am better than you, and become so ethnicity or tribal, don't you think things might get a bit better than this?
Yes, I do think it would be much better. I mean, the United States is united for a reason, right? Majority of the successful countries are united. But when it comes to Ethiopia, I don't think that people don't want that. I think the political doesn't want that. The political elites are constantly instigating these things, right? They don't want the peace that the general population wants, because that would mean a stability for them. And so I think it's structurally implemented, and that they want that attention. And so, originally when the current administration came into power, there was a lot of promise, right? About uniting Ethiopia, about not forcefully evicting people from their homeland. I mean, this is word by word what the guy had told the people, that he was going to unite the country, that he wants brotherly love amongst people, he wants forgiveness, and which is the reason that a lot of Ethiopians supported him, regardless of his religion, regardless of what ethnic group that he came in. The entire Ethiopian supported him. Diaspora supported him regardless of his background. The Ethiopian people, the Tigray people supported him. The Amhara people supported him. The southern people supported him. Everybody supported him because he promised that he was going to unite Ethiopia, right? And he connected in a way that, I mean, he was speaking Tigrinya, he was speaking Amarinya, he was speaking Guraginya, all this. When he went to Somalia, he was joking with the Somali people. And so he gave the false sense that he was genuinely going to work on uniting Ethiopia, which was a flawed, as we are learning and as we been for the last 3 years, 4 years. So and I think and that's why I think the root cause is the political elite, and I'm not sure that they want the unity that they talk about. I don't think that they want the stability for their people. And so that has to change. And I don't know how. I'm not a political major, so I don't know how that could be changed. But if we are to see a better Ethiopia, if we're to see a stable, a united Ethiopia, that this poisonous political form has to be changed.
Right. Actually, you mentioned a very important point. That was when the Ethiopians spoke that they wanted to be united because they supported this guy. Like, I'm going to quote you, as you said, this guy, when he came in the name of Ethiopia and promising everyone to bring about the unity and all the rest of it, and love and unity and all that, forgiveness, everyone supported him, because that shows that everybody, mainly most people, did want that unity, that equality, that love, and they wanted that. They spoke and they supported him. Once he get in power, now he pull out another poisonous plots, and then that's how we ended up here now. So fine. I mean, like you say, the politicians are using these tools because they don't want stability. They just want to be violent or corrupt or whatever they want. But as a nation, if we need to come together, and then that eventually will get us more powerful, then we may get to the the place where we want to be. So how do you think we bring about that unity and then come together?
I think to be able to advocate for one another, right? To recognize each other's pain, recognize that also the instigator, recognizing that who's instigating this, and really doing that study. And I said, like I said, I think it's the political elite that's constantly instigating with the previous government and current government as well. It seems like they're just the problem in that, because if they had wanted true change within Ethiopia, there was a lot of steps they could have taken the last couple of years. And the Ethiopian people have accepted this regime like no other in the Ethiopian history. I mean, everything was situated perfectly for them to be able to implement, to be able to take some action. But what we've been seeing for the last 3 years, 4 years, or so at least since they got some sort of stability, is that they've been doing the complete opposite in everything. I mean, people couldn't carry the flag that our ancestors, our great grandpa carried. Flag that was carried by Abebe Bikila in the Olympics. It's illegal for Ethiopians to have that flag. And how is that possible? I mean, that's the least of our worry. But I'm saying that as an example that even those kind of things couldn't be tolerated. And so it's really disheartening to see that that nothing has changed. It's gotten worse. And so the people have to find their voice. I hope that I don't have any hope in the political elite trying to reshape the arena. I really don't, because I think it's dominated, and that they have something against each other, and I don't think they have the power to be able to take that power back and say, no, we're going to work for the people. I don't see that in the Ethiopian politics. So I'm hoping that the people would rise up, and the people would say enough is enough, and be able to take the power back. Other than that, I don't see any way out. And then that can only be done if they're able to come together, meaning that instead of building fences, religious fences, ethnic fences, and other things, we're able to break that as a community and be able to say, you know what? No, this is my brother and I'm his keeper. This is my sister and I'm her keeper, and be able to come together and advocate for one another and say enough to the people that are dividing us and killing us.
Well, wonderful. Although you kept mentioning that you're not politician, but actually you're not only politician, but actually you've got this power, you've got this energy of organizing people. So you're in that spot now. You're calling out for young people to come together, and hopefully you can organize this youth group to be able to bring some sort of, change in the future. And now I'm going to leave you with your last comment about how to come and join you guys. And I can't write it now, but you can tell them what your website is about, how they can get hold of you, and the things that they can do with you. Maybe it'll be your last chance.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So I would invite and encourage the youth to join AEPAC youth group. You can find us by going aepac.org/youth. Or you could just go to the AEPAC page and then just navigate to the youth page. And then through there, you can fill out contact us information, or you could just shoot us an email, whatever is easiest for you. And we're going to have meetings coming up that are public. So we'll be inviting that and promoting that in social media and as well as our platforms. So keep a lookout for that as well.
Thank you so much, Eyerusalem, for your time. I would have loved to hear more about you, from you and your works, but then I'd like you to promise me that you're going to come back here again with more of your also community members to be able to aware the rest of young people.
Awesome. Yes, definitely would love that.
Thank you so much for your time. Good luck with all the things you do, all the services. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been watching Menalesh Meti in English. I was with Eyerusalem Kibret, youth committee member of AEPAC. They've been doing tremendous work in bringing about, unity and encouraging young people to participate and hold responsibility for, the community in the US and also back home. And I'm hoping to bring them back again. I am Metasebia Ketsela. I'll see you again. Thank you.